Hello everybody, it is Carol Garrison. I need to flip my camera around here. Sorry, it lets you see my mess. Yikes. Carol Garrison here with Carol's Creative Escape. It is time for another Make It Monday, and I apologize. I'm a few minutes late here. I thought I was doing really good on my time, and all of a sudden I looked up and went, whoa, I guess I'm not. So a few minutes late, but what the heck, we're still here. Tonight I'm going to show you a scenic panel card. I'm not really sure what it's called. This was big probably 3 or so 4 years ago with some of the frosted, there was a frosted winter paper that a lot of people were using, and they were using it to create this type of a card. And today I am going to show you how to use it with the Enjoy the Journey Designer Series paper, but also with the Awash with Beauty paper as well. Let me make sure I'm going light. Yep, there's my mess that you can see in the corner here. Flip it over. There we go. Just flipping over on my iPad here. Let me get rid of the echo of the sound. Anyhow, I am, as soon as I saw this paper, this card kind of came to mind. And the Greatest Journey stamp set is one that I love. If you have been watching me for any length of time, you know that I do enjoy camping. Every summer, my sisters and our families go camping up along the North Shore of Minnesota. So it's the North Shore of Lake Superior, which is just the most beautiful, it's just amazing how pretty it is. And for me, there's a lot of waterfalls, and like as soon as I hear the waterfalls when we're up there, you can just kind of feel all the stress run right off your shoulders. I don't know, it's always been kind of my happy little place in terms of where we go. So I knew I had to get this Greatest Adventure, as much for the stamps as for the die set that goes with it. So I'm going to share that with you as well tonight. Hope everybody's had a great week. I have been very busy, just kind of with a lot of stuff. Last week we did some unpacking of more boxes and just trying to get our house organized a little bit. But we also needed to make room for a couple things that are coming back to our house after Sarah moved into her new apartment. On Friday night we went over and helped her finish packing, and then Saturday we spent part of the day moving her. It was a bigger pain moving things out of her old apartment and into the moving truck than it was from the truck to her new apartment, because it's much fewer steps and she's 2 in from the door once you get to the floor that she's on. And we had that truck unloaded like in an hour, and then her cousins came over and helped her, and so grateful that they could do that because they really helped her get it organized. So anyhow, that was kind of our weekend. And then on Sunday we finally did Christmas with John's side of the family. It took a while to have his mom feel well enough to have people over, and then his sister ended up coming in town this week, and so we thought, well, we might as well wait and then we can do Christmas with her, because that's not something we get to do real often. And today Sarah and I went back to the old apartment and we cleaned. We've got a little bit more to do, which I think we'll finish up this weekend, and then we should be good to go. We've got 18 to 24 inches of snow heading our way sometime between tomorrow afternoon and Thursday evening. So that's something really exciting for us to look forward to. No, not at all, but we made sure that we had gas for the snowblower and boots out and things like that. So that's kind of what I've been working on. But let me go ahead. I'm going to flip my camera over because I do want to share this card with you, and I'll give you measurements and things like that so that you can make it as well. Just a moment, please. Pardon my hand. All right. And now you can see my lovely ceiling. There we go. And now my phone seems to not want to stay in place. That's always fun too. I'll have to be careful not to bump it. It could just be one of those nights technology-wise. Hopefully not. All right, let's see if I can get rid of some of the shadows here a little bit. All right. And I'm going to move my fancy schmancy camera stand, which is 3 paper pumpkin boxes that I stack up. That's what I use for my camera stand when I'm looking into the camera. And now I've just got it going overhead. So one thing I do want to make you aware of is the stamp set and the paper that I'm using. This is on page 59 of the January to April. I had to make sure I was giving you the right dates catalog. And one of the things that I want you to be aware of is Stampin' Up! Did release some extra items to be purchased during celebration, which ends on the 28th. And this Enjoy the Journey Designer Series paper is one of those items that you can now get for free as part of celebration. And again, you can get a select item either from the celebration catalog or from the extra items that they added to it partway through celebration. For every $50 that you spend before shipping and taxes, you can get one of those items for free. Or if you spend $100, there are some items that you can get that have a $100 value to them. Actually, I shouldn't say value, that you can get for free if you spend $100. Sorry for the confusion on that. So today I'm going to work with this Greatest Journey stamp set. And of course, when we're up north, there's pine trees, lots of stars, and we do see lots of different flowers and grasses and things like that, depending on where we're at. I have yet to see the Northern Lights, but that's a goal of mine. So I really like this, You Belong Among the Stars, or Mountains of Thanks. Really like this, Wishing You Joy in this next adventure. And we're in this together. So it's kind of nice. It's a photopolymer set, so you can see right where the stamps go when you get done using them. And if you're missing anything. And then it comes with this cool die set, which is called Greatest Journeys. And in here, there's only a couple that actually go with the stamp set. So this will cut out the floral image. And then this one cuts out the pine trees. And this will cut out the edge of a mountain for you. But really, in terms of the stamps, you get a lot more with the dies. Get some clouds over the horizon and things like that. I've used a few of the dies today, and I actually have a couple of them out right now because I'm going to be running those through my die cut machine. And then it comes with this gorgeous Designer Series paper, and I'm going to just share this with you. There are several pieces that have designs on both sides, but it's got 2 different colors. So that's really nice to be able to have that type of paper. There is a page, let me grab it out here. Whoops, not upside down though, Carol. That's all pine trees, and it kind of starts out grayer and a foggy thing and gets a little clearer, a little greener. And then you've got this piece, which are kind of a sky and some clouds in the sky, or little islands. They could be little islands if this is the sky and the water. You have to use your imagination just a little bit to get that. And I am guessing that if I go back and look at these, I haven't had this set for very long, but if I'm looking at this correctly, I believe, oh, my hands have gotten so beat up from the moving and the cleaning today. They're not working very good. You can die cut some of these cloud shapes out, or islands as I like to call them. So it's not an exact fit, but you would be able to get it in there and get that cut out. And then there's this little itty bitty one that I think would probably work on that one. You might get some of the blue background on them, but something to try. I haven't had these long enough to really play a whole lot with it, but it looks like there might be some possibility in doing something fun like that. So anyhow, let me set those aside and keep going through the paper. I got sidetracked. Here is another piece like that first one, just in different colors. So again, you can cut this apart. I am doing a card. I'm going to have a sample of a card made with this corner, and we're going to be making a card with this corner. And then we've got just kind of the mountains in the purples and the green tones. And then we've got this beautiful one, which I've used some of already, in the pink and orange tones. And here's a full sheet of that one. So you can kind of see, again, sort of the mountain look. And then if you flip, I want to make sure I got them all. 1, 2, 3. Yes, I did. If you flip them over, then the back sides have kind of just all over patterns. So this is kind of fun. I made a card last week using this paper. We've got just little triangles and kind of, I don't know, hash marky type things. I know there's a name for that type of fabric, but it's escaping my brain. And then here we've got the starry sky. And then I did a card with this last week. So there's some just really fun papers in there. Just double checking to make sure. I think I did get everything. All right. So it's great paper, and like I said, you can get it as part of a free item for celebration right now too. And the colors are Melon Mambo, Pumpkin Pie, Coastal Cabana, Garden Green, Starry Sky, and Highland Heather in here. So I'm excited to do something with these two pieces that'll bring in that Starry Sky and Highland Heather. I'm not there yet. And then you also can get some twine, spools of twine, and this is Coastal Cabana, Pumpkin Pie, and Garden Green. So let's go ahead and get started on this card. I'm going to go ahead and show you my first card. This is the one that I made with that pink paper. And I love the die cuts. This is the tent. It's two pieces. And I just put the black to make it stand out a little bit. Our tents have always been two-toned, and that's just kind of cool. We've got a hiker here, or kind of looks like a Yeti. Depends on what you're looking for. I'm calling it a hiker with a backpack and a little lamp. But I think you could make it into a Yeti pretty easily too. And then I'm so inspired by your courage. And then when you open it up, you've got the panel, so the scene carries through on the card. And you've got a runner and a biker. And this moment is the start of something great. So I really like the, even though I don't run and I'm not a mountain biker, I really like the dies. But it was this tent that kind of sold me on that. So that's one card. And then another card that I made, this is using the Awash with Beauty from the annual catalog. And this is another paper where you can cut it in half. And I used the iridescent pearls on here. And then I used the stamp set as well that coordinates with that. Let me give you the correct name here. It's not Awash with Beauty. Happiness Abounds, I think, actually. 109. Nope, that's the wrong stamp set. All right, now I'm confused. I'm confusing two stamp sets up. I know, you guys are shocked, right? Well. It is the, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Organic Beauty. It's part of the True Beauty bundle. Well, it's part of the, there's a whole suite of products in the annual catalog. And it is on page 67. And I'm just using the designer series paper from that. And that one, at least, I did have with the correct name. It is the Awash and Beauty Designer Series paper. And again, it just comes in this 12 by 12, so you can cut it in half and get multiple cards out of it. And then I used With Love and Just Because from the True Beauty stamp set as well. That's part of that suite in the annual catalog. So when you open it up, again, that whole panel just continues through. And I love this using the Granny Apple Green, just because it's so springy. And when you got 18 to 24 inches of snow coming, I guess we got to make our spring wherever we can. And then I dressed this piece up a little bit, not because that was my plan, but because I got ink down there, so I had to cover it up. So, fun little card. And on this one, I didn't put a whole lot on the front, but I did run a piece of Granny Apple Green paper through the cut and emboss machine using the Cane Weave 3D embossing folder. And so that just added a little bit of texture to the card. So let's go ahead and get started. To make this card, the card base is 5.5 by 8.5. And you score it at 1.5 and 4.25 inches. So again, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 1.5 and 4.25. By the way, the measurements I'm using this for this card were from Rachel Tessman when this card was big, like I said, like 3 or 4 years ago. These are the measurements that she used when she was making the card. So you may see some that have slightly different measurements, and that's all right. And then I have a piece of the Designer Series paper, and right now this measures 5.25 by 6. And when you cut this, you need to cut it in a specific order. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I also have a piece of basic white cardstock, and this measures 1 13/16, which is basically 1 3/4 plus one of the little lines on your trimmer. So it would just be 1 3/4, and then it would go to this line, would be the 16th. I don't know if you can see that, but that's just the one that we're talking about. Maybe you can zoom up on it. So 1 3/4 plus a little bit. Then I have just a couple pieces of scrap paper because I'm going to die cut the tent, and I've already pre-stamped my sentiment for the outside of my card, and I used my stitch rectangles to die cut that. And then I had another scrap of basic black because I wanted to die cut these figures out. And that's all there is to this card. I am going to be die cutting this using Coastal Cabana. And then on this, for the tent, one of the things that I did, because I frequently forget to use this paper, the adhesive back. This is one where you really want to use it because these are pretty narrow little lines that you end up getting when you die cut it. So yay, Carol, for remembering that. And let's run these two through. Now, a few weeks back, I was using this machine, and I had a lot of issues getting it to crank through a lot. I was kind of embarrassed being live on Facebook here and not getting it through. So I've done a little bit of playing around, and then not too long ago, Stampin' Up! Actually came out with some tips for us to use. And one of those tips, and it has solved most of my problems here, is to create an E on the sandwich. And so by that, I mean you've got the long and then the short and then the long part of the E. I don't know if you can see that. So there's a gap right here. That has made all the difference in getting things to feed through. It's just enough to get it to grab through. And so you can see, sorry for the jiggling, I'm getting it to go through really without any problems or having to shove it. And I just want to make sure everything cut through since I am using this tape this time, and it did. And then let's run the base of our tent through. So again, I'm going to shorten this one up and put this one through, oops, all of the way. So I'm creating that E. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to set those two pieces aside. Just don't want to lose my dies. Okay, there's a few pieces we don't need. We can get rid of those. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and cut our designer series paper. Now it's really important that you start cutting from the left side and sliding it through. So our first cut on this one, let me make sure I've got the right numbers here that I'm giving you. Wrong page. Okay, there we go. It is, again, 5 1/4 by 6, and you're going to make your first cut at 2 3/4. So you just want to line this left edge up on 2 3/4. Make sure that you have it running horizontally, the right way for if you have directional designer series paper, that you've got it cut the right way, so that you're not putting things upside down inadvertently. So we're going to cut this first piece at 2 3/4, and that gives me just a tip of the moon. The next piece, then, we're going to just slide this up again, keeping the same left edge there. This part is really important to make sure that you aren't messing the scenery up. And it's going to be cut at 1 1/8. And then your remaining piece should be 2 1/8 for the width. And again, you've already cut the 5 1/4 part, so it's all going to be in the right place. All right. So the assembly part is super easy on this, you guys. You're going to love it. This is basically a Z fold, so we're going to start by folding it in half. And just use your bone folder to get a good crease in there. And then on that 1 1/2 inch, we're going to fold it over. And on this one, I do like to fold it and burnish it both directions, only because you kind of want this to fold pretty well, or, open up. Not fold, but open up. All right, so to start with, we've got our 3 pieces of designer series paper here. This is going to be the first piece that we put on, and it's going to sit, I'm going to open this up. You want to have, we've got a 5 1/2 inch width and then a 5 1/4. So you just want to set this up so that you have even borders all the way around. But you only want to put adhesive under the part of the designer series paper that's going to fall onto the cardstock. A chunk of this designer series paper is not going to be adhered to anything. So you can see on this one how that sticks out. So it's really important when you're putting your adhesive on that you only put it on this side. And I am going to just run 2 pieces of seal kind of right next to each other because I do want it to adhere, but I also, want to make sure that I'm not getting adhesive on that part. I have done it before where I've just done adhesive on this part, but I always get it, I don't know, I somehow manage to always get it just a little bit too long. So no more of that. And then when I put this on, I'm going to make sure I have even borders all the way around. So even border here, and when the card is closed, that it's an even border. So that's what I mean by all the way around. Okay. All right. Then the next piece that we're going to put in place is this 1 1/8 inch piece. And so, why did I shut that up? All right. That was crazy. We're going to add our adhesive here. And again, just center it between the score line and the edge of this piece. So you've kind of got the same distance. So now we've got these 2 pieces going together. And then the next piece that we're going to put on is the 3rd piece of our scene. And so again, we're going to add our adhesive. And remember, gentle touch, kind of that quick check mark. And you won't run into too many issues with that getting gummy. All right, so then equal borders between the score lines, top, bottom, like that. So now we've got our 3 panels on our card. And the next thing we're going to do is take this basic white strip, and again that's going to go on the card. Now my panels are, I didn't get them centered necessarily as well as I could have, it looks like. We're going to see if we can peel this up. If not, then we're going to live with it. Sometimes with seal, if you do it right away, and I always, when I'm tearing stuff up, I'll tear most of it off from one direction, but then I go to the top and we'll tear it down. And the reason for that is if I do tear any of the cardstock, if I kept going up, I'm going to tear it all the way up. But if I pull from both directions, I'm not going to create a tear in the cardstock that's going to show. I'm going to add just a little bit more adhesive now because I've kind of made that one a little less sticky. So I'm going to put this one a little bit closer to the score line so that I have equal distance between pieces. I have one card where it worked really well, one card where it didn't work so well. Just is the way that it is. And then I had this one stamped really well, and then I got my fingers in the ink and had to stamp it on the other side. You see that a lot. That's why paper has 2 sides to it. So again, we're just going to work to make sure we've got equal borders here, and then I'll press that down. And then the other big thing is you want to make sure that this piece doesn't show around. I shouldn't have pressed it down till I checked that. So when you make this card, do as I say and not as I did. It just needed to move over just a teeny bit. You don't want it showing underneath that front panel of Designer Series paper if you can help it. So it just needed to be moved over a teeny bit. So now we've got our scene, we've got our inside sentiment, and all we need to do is decorate the outside. So to make this tent, this is really a 2-piece step. You've got the piece of Coastal Cabana that I cut out, and then I've also got, with my adhesive here, kind of your support posts and things like that. And it helps a lot to use, like I said, that adhesive back. I did also use my Tombow glue, my liquid, the green glue, to put them together on the first one because I did forget to use the adhesive. But having done it both ways, the adhesive really is the easier option if you happen to have some of that around. All right, so now I've got my tent put together, and I think that black just adds a lot of detail to it. So get rid of that. So I am going to do, I didn't do this on the first card, but I am going to do it on my second card. I'm actually going to pop my tent up on dimensionals, just because I think it needs it a little bit. And we'll put that right there. So we're camping in the mountains, and we've got our friend the Yeti. And this one, actually on the die cut, it would normally be faced this way, but again, it doesn't matter. You can turn it the other way and it's going to be just fine. And this, I'm just going to get a little bit of adhesive on the feet and up on the head, not worrying too much about that lantern. And I'm going to put that here. It's like some of the campsites I've been to, we had a bit of a jaunt at night and we have to carry our lantern with us. And then on the inside, I want my biker coming back over here. And so I'm just going to run a little bit of adhesive. You could do that adhesive backing on these too. That wouldn't be a bad idea either. Let's see if I can get just a little bit of glue to hold that tire down. Especially with these tires, it would probably be helpful. Or you can use your Tombow liquid glue. All right, and then my Running Man. We're gonna get some adhesive on him or her. I think it's a him on this one. And we're just gonna add that person here, making sure that I don't have it on the score line right here. And then I think this card needs still a little bit more in the front, and so I'm going to add this wishing you joy in this next adventure, and I'm going to center it on the card front, which means I'm going to have part of a flap hanging off. So when I put my adhesive on here, I want to just put it on the one end so that it doesn't stick to the card, otherwise it isn't going to open up. And so on this paper, because this to me looks more like a sunset, one of the stamps that I could have used, and I did not, and I'm not going to at this point because I've got different layers in here and it won't stamp evenly, but this would have been a good one to have added those little stars to, since it does kind of look like it's nighttime. But I'm afraid, like I said, because I've got, well, you know what? We're going to try this. In fact, I'm going to, you know, it's not uncommon for me to have to move one piece of paper sometimes, but this is my third piece tonight. I've been very lucky that I haven't torn my paper. Let's go ahead and grab a stamping block, and I'm going to kind of stick with the black theme. So I'm just going to grab my Memento ink. Oh, and darn it, I got some on my finger, so for sure we're going to put a star there. I'll add some stars up here. And maybe some right there. So we've got a few stars going out there, and then let me run one more piece of adhesive on that since I kind of messed it up a little bit. And we're gonna throw that one on here. There. Sometimes we have to change our designs on the fly. That's what happens when you're going live. So here's the nighttime of this adventure one. And here's the sunrise, kind of the sunrise sunset version of these two cards. And I just love how that scene carries out through the whole card. And it's kind of a surprise when you open it up because you don't really expect to see that. So just a little bit of a surprise. And the nice thing about this is whoever you give this to, they can set it up on their fireplace mantle or an end table and share your creation with somebody else as well. So we've got two made with the Enjoy the Journey Designer Series paper and one with the Awash with Beauty Designer Series paper. And it's just kind of a fun fold. So let me repeat measurements real quick for you so that you've got those. It is a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 by 8.5, and you're going to be scoring it at 1.5 and 4 1/4. This piece of Designer Series paper as a whole is 6 inches by 5 1/4. So it works really well. If we have scenes in our 6 by 6 paper, you hardly have to cut anything to make this card. This happened to be 12 by 12 paper. Not a big deal to cut a 6 by 6 square out of that either. So again, 5 1/4 by 6 inches. Your first cut is at 2 3/4, and then you slide it up in your cutter to 1 1/8. And then this last piece ends up being 2 1/8. And this piece of basic white cardstock is 1 13/16 by 5 1/4. and then whatever you need to create the embellishments that you're going to be putting on your card. So have fun on this adventure. Make this card. If you make a card, please be sure to post it in the comments below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up and let me know that. I do share all of these videos on YouTube as well. So if you are out on YouTube, you can follow it on my channel, Carol's Creative Escape with Carol Garrison on YouTube. And be sure to share this with anybody you think may enjoy this card. And until next week, have a great one. Bye-bye, everybody.